Since you were here in Salt Lake City, you've been all over the place, but I want to go back to your time that we got to meet at the Delta Center. First and foremost, what were your impressions of Salt Lake City as a whole? Because you had never been here, right?
Yeah, never been to Utah. It was, first off, beautiful. It's breathtaking when you step off the plane. But more than that, I think I was just struck by the passion that Salt Lake City has for hockey. To walk toward Delta Center from downtown and see fans lined up around the building, that was amazing. I wasn't expecting that. I figured the building might be half full, might have 8-10,000 people, but to essentially be turning fans away because it was that crowded, it was like that hit home, but it went to a whole other level when you got inside. You heard the environment, how just not only proud people are to be from Utah, but there's this kind of interesting dynamic when you have a welcome to the team night like that, right? Welcome the team night. You have fans that want to see what these players are all about, but you also have the players who are going in kind of like, huh, what? I've never been to Utah before. What's this place like? I want to see it with my own eyes. But it's another thing to feel the electricity that was in Delta Center that night, because hockey players can be put in sort of awkward situations. They're generally pretty shy when it comes to a camera and a microphone, and they wanted to introduce themselves as well and let people in Utah know what they're about, and they did that, and it kind of felt like a match made in heaven.
Yeah, it was a really cool night to be a part of something so big for Utah, and obviously to have you there as well too, considering how much you cover the game and you've done so for many years. I wanted to ask you about your impressions of the venue itself. Obviously, big renovations coming in terms of expanding seating, better vision to watch the game of hockey. It is a basketball arena where the seats are on top of you. But what do you make of those potential plans or those future plans for the Delta Center to give the hockey fans the best possible product?
I think it requires some patience, but I like the vision, because when you're in that building, you realize how loud it is. And is it perfect right now? No, it's not. That one end of the arena where the stage was set up, it's going to be some tough sledding there. But that's okay. Remind you that just in a welcome the team night, there's 3x of what the Coyotes would have played in front of in Mullet Arena on Arizona State University's campus. So this is an enormous step forward in terms of environment and atmosphere for the new Utah players. And I have zero doubt that when you look at the other renovations that have already taken place inside Delta Center, you walk through the door, it doesn't feel like a 30-plus-year-old arena. I've been to every building in the NHL many times, and you can tell the ones that the work hasn't been put in. The funding hasn't been there to renovate and really get it up to current modern day standards. That felt like a modern arena. They've done a really nice job keeping up with it. And so the next step in this evolution of it, I'd imagine, it'll just take time before ultimately it's a 17,000 seat, beautiful arena that's oriented for hockey and basketball.
Looking at the roster of the actual moving pieces that came to Utah for Utah hockey fans, or maybe now new Utah hockey fans, because how could you not if you didn't like the sport before, when you've got this new shiny object in front of you here in the Delta Center where the Jazz play? But what can people expect from this team as an actual competitive program year one? What will they get?
Well, they're getting a team that's on the right track. Bill Armstrong has had a meticulous plan as steward of the Arizona Coyotes. And what I would say is he's been doing a lot with very little. That's maybe the most exciting part about this transition from Arizona to Utah is he did a nice job, and so did Andre Tournier as head coach. But what about in a city and organization with proper backing? How much differently will they, how much better will they be able to do their jobs? It's a small, some of them are small things, but in talking to some former Coyotes players, they were saying to me, we're excited to go because for the last number of years, we've been dealing with the worst plane in the league, the worst hotels, the worst food, the poorest paid training and equipment staff. I can't even get a proper nutritional smoothie after a practice or game. Little things like that, that I'm sure the general fan is sitting there going, okay, this guy's got the world's tiniest violin that he's complaining about. But the truth is, when it comes to icing a true competitive Stanley Cup contending NHL team, you need all of those things. And if those, travel details or smoothie details aren't in order, just imagine what the rest of the front office looks like. Just imagine what the rest of the process is in terms of moving contracts around and signing players and acquiring players. If you don't have the foundation in place, the rest of the house is going to crumble. And I think of that when it comes to Utah. So Ryan Smith originally wanted an expansion team. I think Utah is 2,000 times better off landing the Coyotes because A, they can hit the ground running, and B, they now have some fuel, some jet fuel to be able to go and be a lot better because of what they might be able to do next, whether it's spending. I don't think they're going to have a huge diversion from their plan. They're not ready to take the jump, I don't think, yet from non-playoff team to being contender. But with the moves made this summer, can they go from being non-playoff team to playoff team? I think that's 100% out there and on the table. And they're going to have the ability this summer. I just put out my new top 50 free agents list today on dailyfaceoff.com. There's lots of players that they can target that are going to make this team instantly more competitive without having to break the bank and commit serious term that's going to get them into trouble later.
Have you talked to any players since that welcoming announcement? If so, what have they told you about that experience? And maybe if their minds were changed a little bit about the move?
I don't think their minds needed much changing. I think they were excited for a fresh start, regardless of whatever other reporting might have been out there. I had one player text me the night of the event and said, we feel like we're back in the NHL again, which is a huge boost. And more than that, I think they were blown away. I've talked to multiple players in the days since their visit to Utah, and they didn't expect that kind of fan support right from Jump Street. They figured they might have to earn it. And the fact that they're going to be able to hit the ground running, I'd imagine a lot of what the Utah players are feeling right now is not all that different than what players might have been feeling in Seattle and Vegas, which have been grand slam home run successes for the NHL.
I want to be delicate with your time because you're home. You've been doing this for a long time here on the road for the last 12 days, but Utah has entered the NHL hockey chat officially. Anything else stand out to you over the last couple of weeks?
No, I think there's a million questions to still answer. Where will this team practice? What will the logo be? What will their colors be? All those things that are in the grand scheme relatively easy to figure out. And I'll just remind you that the NHL has done this before. I was covering this league in 2011 when the Atlanta Thrashers left to become the Winnipeg Jets in relocation. They didn't do it till the end of May. The Utah franchise with Ryan and Ashley Smith has gotten a 6-week head start on that, and I'd imagine that they'll take full advantage.
What's the team name going to be?
I have no idea, but what my vote would be for the Utah Yeti, and that's singular, not plural. It can't be Utah Yetis. It needs to just be Yeti. It just lines up 2 4-letter words that could be a smashing success.
On that topic, what do you make of Ryan Smith floating out the idea of a bracket, perhaps, for people to pick the name?
I don't mind it. I don't think it needs to be that drawn out. I also don't think that they need to wait until the second year of the franchise in order to actually install a name and colors and logo, because I get that the Washington football team did it in the biggest league in the world, but that doesn't mean that you need to. And I guess I'd be curious as to what team selected names actually make it into the bracket to begin with. How's the bracket structured to lend itself to whatever they might be preferential towards? Just name the team and move on.